I went to a high school that had 1,800 children, which is a lot of children to have running around in a high school. But because of this, there were more rooms for electives and there were more kids to fill the seats and who wanted to take them. But even with 1,800 kids, I watched a lot of classes get cut from the course offerings. I personally took a lot of history classes and I took philosophy, but not a lot of schools offer philosophy. I was lucky that my school did, but it barely did. We had just enough kids who wanted to take it to reach the minimum number of students for that class. My high school gave me that opportunity to branch out and grow and to see what I wanted to do. And by doing that, I realized that I want to major in philosophy and that is what I want to pursue. But a lot of schools don't have that luxury of having a lot of spare funding and a lot of students to fill programs. Urbana had many electives cut in the place of AP courses. Schools have reshaped their education systems around test scores and around measuring student success. In 2002, President George W. Bush passed the No Child Left Behind policy. This policy encouraged schools to take responsibility for the success of its students, but with it came a substantial amounts of problems. Allison Klein from educationweek.org points out that tutoring and the option to transfer to higher performing schools were largely ignored in the underperforming schools. The programs put too strong of an emphasis on reading and math scores, which undermines the students interested in the untested subjects. NPR points out another issue in holding all students to the same on-par definition. Cody Turner informs readers that it is irrelevant where a child started. It doesn't matter if there's a child who started 3 grades below their reading level and the teacher can help them get to be only 1 grade level below their reading level, because in the eyes of this policy, what is still important is that that child is still 1 year behind, and so therefore that child has failed, and the school is not good enough. It's still an example of schools helping their students, but with the school scoring as failing, you're not regarding the progress it could make. There's even economic issues for this. Alexander Bogan published a study in the Journal of Regional Science located on Academic Search Premier. The study tied decreasing property values to schools designated as failing. Schools are able to be ranked as failing even if one subgroup is underperforming, and there's no consideration for the progress that these schools are making or for the groups that are succeeding. Valerie Strauss wrote an article for the Washington Post on a new act titled the Every Student Succeeds Act passed under the Obama administration. Even this faced issue. The goal was to allow schools more freedom designing their curriculum and devaluing test scores. Instead, she points out how scores became more important for accountability and how teachers found themselves under scrutiny for the students in classes in which they did not teach, and schools will need to unlearn the reliance on standardized testing. It is not a productive model. The Joshua Starr writing for Phi Delta Chi argues the best school leaders are willing to take the risk to unlearn what they've been taught about the organizational models. He's correct in saying that we must dismantle these old models. But what new model should we use? Well, how about instead of only testing and in turn stressing math and English, all the basic subjects are offered and students get to pick the 2 that they want to take? What if we did this? Well, this opens up more opportunities for students to branch out and explore topics that interest them. When students are tested, the teachers who teach the subjects are held accountable by the scores the students get by voluntarily showing what they know in that subject. Grade schools have been shaped to teach students to test. In college, students are allotted more freedom in exploring educational paths, but by the time they get to college, students have it ingrained in their mind how school is supposed to work. They stress the importance of grades over learning. If people enjoy the subject or are learning and engaged, the grade comes along with it and the knowledge stays. How about we stop teaching to memorize and forget? By allowing students freedom in their educational endeavors, we teach students to branch out and to give them the choice to. They are more likely to be engaged in a class they are getting something out of, and it is a true reflection of students' performances when students pick what represents them. In summary, because of the issues with the No Child Left Behind policy, there's a need for reform. Schools must allow students more freedom in their own educational paths and to teach them instead to explore what they want to do. This will better prepare them for their futures and for college. Schools will display higher test scores across the nation, and less federal funding will be necessary to go into regulating, tutoring, and standardized preparedness programs. My school never seemed to have enough recent history textbooks, but what's that subject seem to matter? Maybe now we can afford these better resources for the students. I urge you to contact the president of your local school board and suggest something like this, or you can reach out to your congressman. This is in the best interest of America's children and its educational system, so take a stand.